Mel Kiper Jr.'s latest mock draft. We call it a draft 4.0, and he has a bunch of trades, including this one that's brand new. The Patriots and the Cowboys with a deal in the first round. The Pats would move up from 15 to 10, leaving the Cowboys at 15, taking cornerback Jaycee Horn. Another of our draft insiders, Matt Miller, yesterday had these thoughts on who Dallas should be moving up for rather than moving back.
You trade up for Kyle Pitts if you could get him. I said it last week. This would be the best offense in the NFC if Kyle Pitts is there with Amari Cooper, all the talent they have, Michael Gallup, Ezekiel Elliott, Dak Prescott coming back healthy. I know what my lineman friends are going to say here. They have 10 picks in this draft class, guys. 10.
So that was Matt with us yesterday. Our crew is back with us here today. And let me come to Jeff Darlington on this first and foremost. Jeff, how would you assess the likelihood if the Dallas Cowboys are going to be involved in a trade there in the first round on them moving up to take someone like Pitts rather than them moving back to stay with defense?
Greeny, I certainly understand the theory and the idea that Jerry Jones would do something crazy like move up. We talk about it seemingly every year, but I think what we also wind up discussing and concluding is that Jerry Jones winds up getting in the war room on the day of the draft and has Stephen Jones, his son, there to kind of cool him off and say, Jerry, you can't do that, Dad, whatever he calls him. You can't do that. You can't give up your whole draft to go get Kyle Pitts when we need to build this defense. We can't give up all that ammunition that we have, not to mention not pick a defensive player at 10 overall. So generally speaking, what I find historically to happen is that Jerry Jones becomes infatuated, romanticizes about picking a player at that spot, and ultimately conforms to the rest of the war room and says, okay, we'll do the smart thing here.
Now, David, I see the smile on your face. Here's what I want to ask you, because I feel like there's probably a lot of people out there in America that also haven't really seen a lot of Kyle Pitts, or certainly haven't studied the tape of him the way the rest of us in this conversation have. And they could be thinking, could he really be that good? All of a sudden, in the last couple of weeks, people are acting like Kyle Pitts is the best player to come into the draft in years. Tell everyone who hasn't seen him, David, why teams are so excited about this player.
Oh, he's Freaky Friday. Whether it's a wide receiver position, guess what he did in the SEC? Run by all the cornerbacks. Not linebackers, cornerbacks. He's running by cornerbacks. And if he doesn't by chance run by you, his wingspan is like an offensive tackle, for God's sakes. You just throw it up and he plucks it out of the air. So he's a good enough blocker. But listen, I also think you need a good fit when it comes to an offense, because you can't just line him up at tight end and leave him there. That would be stupid. This dude is an absolute freak that can win outside, inside. Do you know how deep, and Lewis could speak to this greatly, do you know how hard it is as a defense to say, okay, he's a tight end this play, next he's in the slot, next he's out wide? Like, you can't adjust your whole defense every single play and always put your best player on him when people move him around all the time. So this dude, I've never seen, listen, I haven't been around the game like Mel and Todd and these guys, but I haven't seen him, a guy like this at the tight end position come out. He's running 4.4 with 6'5" height, and I mean, that speed and that ability to run routes and catch the football. It's silly, man. It's silly.
Another reminder that in college, he lined up as a tight end. He lined up as a slot receiver. He lined up outside the numbers. So he does have the ability to do all those things. So, Lewis, as you assess him, like if you're a team and you've got some options here, I mean, how tempting is it? How would you describe the temptation to say, this guy's a unicorn, he's one of one, I'm doing whatever I have to go up and get him?
It's very tempting because he is, the NFL is about matchups, and he is a matchup problem. You don't have 6'4", 6'5" corners and safeties who run 4.4. There isn't a single one in the NFL who moves like this guy, who you could say, well, this is a guy who we can kind of neutralize him with. That's why offenses try to get people like this, because they know you have a hard time defending them. But, there's a big difference between collecting talent and building a football team and building a roster. And in Dallas, they have plenty of weaponry on the perimeter in Dallas. Having done them on Monday Night Football last year, they were awful on the interior of their offensive line. They couldn't protect the quarterback. They could not protect the quarterback. They could not capture the line of scrimmage because, one, they couldn't stay healthy, and two, their depth was terrible. On the defensive side, do you remember what the Cleveland Browns did to them running the football on the defensive line? Do you remember how bad they were up front? Do you remember how bad they were rushing the passer? You remember they couldn't stop anybody. So there's this conundrum, right, that they have. They have a very unique asset here at wide receiver / tight end / just overall weapon, versus what do we need for this football team so we can win games, win our division, be contenders in the NFC? Do we just sit pat? Do we move up? What do we do? See, that's the dilemma here. Do they think he's that unique that they can forego addressing the offense or defensive line and building this team front to back? Well, we're going to find out. We're going to find out here in a couple of weeks.
But what they should do is take defense. It'll be a lot more fun, however, if they go the other direction. We'll see. Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.